Hi there, and welcome to Logosynthesis Day 2025 and to this session. I'm Cathy Caswell, a master practitioner and instructor in logosynthesis, and I focus on the topic of resolving stress for healthy living. And so the topic of this presentation is resolve stress, caring for body, mind, and spirit using logosynthesis. I'll speak why it's important to resolve stress and why logosynthesis offers a powerful approach. I'll also guide you so that you can experience what can shift when using the logosynthesis basic procedure, and I'll offer some resources. So I'm now going to share my screen and I'll take you through the presentation. You're human. You experience stress. And stress, especially chronic stress, can harm your body, mind, and spirit. So you might recognize stress in everyday life. It's a normal part of work and life. And yet, over time, if left unchecked, it can lead to burnout and sickness. And maybe you're not even aware of the impact of stress, and yet you feel exhausted or aggressive or frustrated. Stress can impact all aspects of your life, your health, your work, your finances, and your relationships. So you might wish for a stress-free life. Who doesn't? Take a moment to connect with this image and experience the warmth of the sun, the sound of the waves, the smell of the salt air, the view of the vivid blue water, and just allow yourself to connect with this energy, to be in flow, to relax, and yet you're not physically there. And now experience what it might be like if you're enjoying a day at the ocean with loved ones. Right? It feels a little different than just being on your own. And personally, I love a day at the ocean. It certainly restores my energy. And I also use logosynthesis to restore my energy. And in this presentation, as I mentioned, I'm going to show you how you can use logosynthesis when caring for body, mind, and spirit. So let's revisit this idyllic scene and enjoy the sensations that you experience, even though you're not there. And while it might be a very nice place to be, you're probably saying, well, that's not life. Life happens. You get stuck in arguments. You feel the weight of financial pressures. Or you might have the misfortune of an accident. And notice how you react, the physical sensations in your body, the mental thoughts, and those emotions, the energy of your emotions. Okay. And when life happens, and it does, we take care to care for our body, mind, and spirit. So we're talking body, mind, and spirit. How do you relate to the term? Is it intellectually or intuitively? Do you approach it more from a cognitive or an energetic approach? What happens when you hear it? Is there any cultural or personal experiences that influence how you react to the term? And so my experience as a dietitian, I was working in the food industry. We always had a focus on healthy lifestyles, and we talked a lot about body, mind, and spirit and related it to three pillars to health. And it was common to emphasize the body. That's what we all knew: healthy eating, exercise, sleep. And then gradually over time, we started talking more about mental health. And we included things like mindfulness and cognitive behaviors. But the spirit side of things was still pretty much left to religion. And a lot of it was out of corporate messaging. And yet, spirit is energy. And it does start to come in when we talk about yoga and meditation. So, this energy is a vital part of healthy living. Healthy living is with an energy flow perspective. You might look at nutrition as energy intake, exercise as energy output, sleep as energy recharge, right? And purpose on the top left is energy of intention. And as I started to share the benefits of working with logosynthesis, I asked a friend of mine to do a painting for me. I wanted to introduce spiritual health into the health conversations in my communities. And I wanted to highlight that if we didn't care for the pillar of spirit, that our health overall risks crashing, right? Like we can't just get by neglecting one area. And the more that I worked with logosynthesis, the less this pillar approach resonated with me. Willem offers a very impactful metaphor of a computer. The body is the hardware, the mind is the software, and the user or the spirit is the user of body and mind. And with this in mind, you as essence, and essence being energy, are the programmer using the energetic power of words. And logosynthesis offers a very integrative model for healing and development. It doesn't replace other forms of healthcare, it enhances. And so, to highlight this, I'll offer a personal example. And I was enjoying a relaxed bike ride with my husband David, and he was ahead of me on the trail that we bike on. And as I came off of a narrow bridge, I clipped my handlebar on the railing, and I ended up falling hard on my hip. I landed on a rock, and I was kind of thrown for and a stranger saw what happened and immediately stopped. And I kind of laughed it off and assured her that I would be fine, just keep going. I just needed a moment. And then a neighbor stopped to help. And again, I kind of laughed at my mishap and encouraged him to go catch up with David. And they could enjoy their bike ride and let Dave know that I was going to go home. And meanwhile, I was in so much pain. I couldn't get up, and I was just kind of mad at myself that I was so stupid that I let this happen. And of course, Dave came back and he went home and got the truck so that I could get a ride home. And then I started to assess, okay, where am I at? And I used logosynthesis to integrate with other treatments to relieve the symptoms and to support the healing. So um, I went for an X-ray to make sure nothing was broken. I took pain medication. I went for physio and acupuncture and massage all in due course. And this aided in the healing. And I used logosynthesis on my own and also with a guide. And so what I did was address the symptoms that showed up. I had a spasm in my leg that lasted for a while, and this helped to ease, like to stop the spasm. I also worked on the frustration because I was quite angry with myself. And also at that time, I was attending an online logosynthesis and the body course with Willem. And I thought, aha, I can do a demo with Willem and I can magically walk with no pain. But what came up in this session was Willem noticed that I was laughing it off. I was hurt and I was making light of it. And from this position, I wasn't really able to ask for help, and it got in my way of healing. And this was a pattern that I wasn't aware of, but something that was with me for a long time. As a child growing up on a farm, it helped to kind of laugh it off and get on with life. And since working on it in that course, that pattern has dissolved, it's calmed for me so that I am better able to ask for help and to relax and let my body heal. So you can use logosynthesis in your everyday life to support healthy living. You might recognize healthy living as meaningful work, like this nurse on the top left. You might recognize it as enjoying nature, being active in nature, healthy eating, especially social healthy eating, friendships, spiritual connection, and sleep. And then we say in everyday living, we might have aspects of our life that are very restorative, very healthy, and yet one aspect might not. And so maybe work sucks. Or maybe you struggle in many areas of your life, right? So approaching healthy living from an energy perspective, you realize it's all energy in dynamic balance. And logosynthesis is about self, about essence, in dynamic balance. And so this dynamic balance refers to flow and frozen. Your energy is in flow, and some of your energy is frozen. And healthy living involves both, right? That is a good thing. It becomes an issue when you are stuck in distress. Energy is frozen in stressful reactions, in patterned reactions. And these energetic reactions are in the form of thoughts. Maybe I'm not good enough. Emotions. Maybe you're sad or angry. And physical sensations. Maybe tightness in your shoulder or your heart is racing. And these distressing reactions or frozen reactions are fused with frozen perceptions. And we recognize these frozen perceptions as memories, beliefs, and fantasies. And so, although they're fused, you may be aware of a perception. So, you might have a distressing memory that you are very aware of. But on the other hand, in logosynthesis, we recognize sometimes we're not aware of the memory, it's hidden, but our body reacts. We're aware of the physical sensation. Your heart might be racing before a presentation, or maybe you're reacting to something in a movie or whatever. So it can be separate. Sometimes we start with the distressing reactions, and then using the logosynthesis basic procedure, we are able to discover the underlying memory, belief, or fantasy. So, memories, fantasies, beliefs are all sensory representations in your personal space. So, think of the five senses: touch, hearing, taste, sight, and smell. And no, you're not going crazy when you have an image in your head before a presentation or you keep reliving the scene of an accident. This is a normal human response. And so, where this fits in the medical research is in the form of mental imagery. And the work in mental imagery is still new and unfolding. And I've included this excerpt from the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, which was updated in 2021, written by Bence Nane. And what they describe here is precisely what we deal with in logosynthesis. So there's a lot of new research that's coming forward, how mental imagery relates to emotions and emotional disorders. So, and what this research calls for is for new approaches to resolve distressing, intrusive mental imagery. And so, logosynthesis is a simple and elegant model to achieve this using the energetic power of words. Words have power. So, some areas where you might recognize intrusive mental imagery, maybe an accident. So, if you think of first responders, and also Innika Kirsten shares a case study of someone who had been taken in an ambulance and was struggling with PTSD of the sound of the ambulance. So, this is one area. Also, military members often struggle with PTSD, and Shanda Wooden shares her work in the area of these intrusive mental images. Natural disasters such as earthquakes is another area where intrusive mental imagery is common. And Kate Strong and Annie Reynolds have shared on a podcast with me how they work together to resolve Kate's PTSD related to the earthquakes of 2011 in New Zealand. So, what we know working with logosynthesis is that when we shift the frozen perceptions, we relieve the frozen reactions, and there is immediate and sustained relief. The challenge is to identify the deep underlying mental imagery or perceptions at some points. So your work is to create a working alliance, a trusting space where you can actually identify and then resolve the mental imagery to relieve distress. So that's what logosynthesis does, regardless if the energy shifts are subtle or intense. And at times they can feel intense. So memories can be outside of our awareness, especially early childhood memories, and they're there for protection. And it takes some safety, trust, guidance. We say a strong working relationship, and then you can uncover and resolve them. So life will happen. You will react. And what is helpful is to be aware and empowered to shift that energy. So let's give it a try. Okay. I'm going to guide you through a cycle of the logosynthesis basic procedure. And to start, I'm going to ask you to think of a distressing memory, or if nothing comes to mind, a person who annoys you. So just allow yourself, you can jot some ideas on a piece of paper if you have a piece of paper. That's not necessary. Just connect with what are the thoughts related to this distressing memory? What are the emotions related to this memory? What are the physical sensations? Where do you feel it in your body? If it's distressing thoughts and emotions, what's happening in your body? Okay, and allow yourself to connect with the distress. And now I'm going to ask you to rate the level of distress on a scale of 0 to 10, with 0 being no distress and 10 being maximum. And just jot the number down on a piece of paper. Okay, rate the level of distress 0 to 10. And if you don't have paper, just keep it in mind. And so as you notice this distressing memory, notice where it is in your personal space, and then take this representation, this perception or image, and place it in the box. If it's a distressing, annoying person, place that in the box as well. And close the lid, staying connected to the distressing thoughts, emotions, and physical connection or sensations. Okay. Now I'm going to ask you to make sure your mic is muted. I think everyone is. And just repeat after me aloud. So I retrieve all of my energy bound up in this box and everything it represents and take it to the right place in myself. And we're just going to give a moment for that to work. Just allow the energy to shift. We'll just let it work. Let the energy shift. It could be intense, it could be subtle. Now I'm going to ask you again to repeat aloud after me. I remove all non-me energy bound up in this box and everything it represents from all of my cells, all of my body and my personal space, and send it to where it truly belongs. And again, we are going to take a minute to pause and let the energy shift. Work one-on-one with someone, the length of time for processing may vary. In a group exercise like this, we tend to keep the same length of pause. So now for the third sentence, repeat aloud after me. I retrieve all my energy bound up in all my reactions to this box and everything it represents, and take it to the right place in myself. And again, we're going to pause and let the third sentence work. You don't have to think about where the energy goes or what happens. You don't have to do anything. Just let the energy shift. Okay, so now I'm going to ask you to open the box and notice what happens. In your reactions, what are the thoughts, emotions, and physical sensations now? And what happens in the frozen perception, the mental imagery? And now I'm going to ask you to, once again, rate the level of distress on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 no distress, 10 maximum distress. And I'm going to ask you to compare the two numbers, right? And you can jot down these numbers and just place it in the chat, right? You can just let us know the initial number and the post number, and then we can see if there is a shift. Okay, so jot it in the chat. So we have 6 to 1, 5 to 1, 8 to 3, 6 to 3, 5 to 1, 7 to 2, 5 to 1, 6 to 2, okay, 7 to 2, 8 to 3, and 9 to 6 or 7. Okay, so we can see that there's a shift there. And is there another layer now? So maybe if someone went from a 9 to a 6 or 7, there might be another layer there at that 3. What, right? And so the way we work with logosynthesis is layer by layer, and we address the next layer. And each time we might go to a deeper or more hidden mental imagery or hidden frozen perception. And layer by layer, we use the sentences to shift that energy, to free your energy, restore the flow for healthier living. Okay, so that's how it goes. Notice the shifts towards the issue, and we say repeat as needed. So, and also ask that you pay attention over the next couple days to the issue that you worked with and see what happens over time. So, what we notice working with logosynthesis is that once that imagery shifts, once the frozen perceptions are resolved, they don't come back. So, if something has been frozen in your space for a long time and it's resolved, it doesn't come back. So, if you do want to do another cycle of logosynthesis for distressing memory on my YouTube channel, The Healthy Living Plan, I do have videos there with guided exercises, and this one is to eliminate a distressing mental image. So, I'm going to pause now and we're going to chat for a moment, okay? And then we'll come back to the slide presentation. So I'll stop screen share and we will chat. So now we're coming back to the presentation, and I wanted to share what people experience with logosynthesis. So just before Christmas, I put in the Logosynthesis Facebook group. Again, I encourage people to join that group to learn and to experience and be curious. And I asked people to put in 1 to 3 words or 1 to 5 words rather, what logosynthesis means to them. And so some people put in multiple single words, some people put in phrases. Freedom was a huge one, healing, essence, health, relaxation, lightness, love, energy. I just thought those individual words were so strong. And also the phrases, letting go of what's not mine, integrity of words and actions, healing old wounds with words, swift release from old issues, and a precise method for shifting energy. So, for anyone later that wants to watch this on the video, you can always pause. But to me, it's a powerful example of what's possible with logosynthesis. So what are your next steps? I share this quote by Carol Burnett: "Only I can change my life. No one can do it for me." And what I often hear in the logosynthesis community is you don't need to do it alone. So there are resources. I recommend to start, read this Discover Logosynthesis by Dr. Willem Lammers, and it offers a beautiful overview of the model and the logosynthesis basic procedure. So it is the foundation of other learning. A lot of times people want to jump in and get started on the deep stuff, and really the foundation is so important. And from my perspective, I want to support this from a perspective healthy, meaningful living. And I share content through the Healthy Living Plan, whether that's website, thehealthylivingplan.com, my YouTube channel, my social media. Um, so feel free to look this up. And I also share my personal experience and my professional training to put it into everyday language, again, for the foundational building blocks of using logosynthesis and addressing some of the nuances in the work. So there's two books: Logosynthesis, Enjoying Life More Fully, is from the perspective of a busy working mom. And yeah, just being stressed. I was fine, but um, I tended to be a little reactive. So that was my entry point. And then I also wrote during the pandemic, Thriving in Our Times, from reactions to action using logosynthesis. And this was a bit more from the perspective. I was executive director of 4-H Nova Scotia Youth Leadership Organization, and I brought in some of the insights from this work as well. I share an app called Essence Unlock Potential. There's some great free content with the guided exercises so that you don't have interruptions with advertisements or anything. So you can sign up for the free app. And I also offer coaching programs so that you can, again, build the foundations for healthy, meaningful living. I do offer coaching one-to-one, and I also offer courses. And you can find these courses on my website. On January 30th, I will be offering a 2-hour workshop, Resolve Stress for Healthy Living. And on January 28th and February 4th, I'll be offering Logosynthesis 101, a self-coaching course. And I offer these periodically, so you can register, find what's upcoming at the time at thehealthyliving.com, healthylivingplan.com on the events tab. And probably what's near and dear to my heart in very many ways is the podcast and YouTube channel, Why Logosynthesis Works. On YouTube, it's under at Cathy Caswell. And in this series of interviews, I speak with practitioners in logosynthesis who work in so many different ways. So they highlight the scope of what is possible, and really, yeah, create a curiosity and an appreciation for the work, for their own personal and professional self-care, but also what their clients experience. And so many of these client stories we don't readily see in the medical field, right? And I have a blog and an info hub on thehealthylivingplan.com. The blog is a series of articles that you might want to take a look at and maybe share with your group. They're written again in everyday terms to address everyday issues related to stress and how logosynthesis can be applied. And most of those blogs do have a link to a guided exercise so people can experience right away what can shift. So take a look. Also, I want to highlight the LIA website, Logosynthesis International Association. And there are three main components on this website. One, if you're looking for a companion or a professional guide, there's a tab with a complete list of all certified practitioners in logosynthesis. If you're looking for a training seminar or an introductory course, Get to Know tab will take you right into all the upcoming seminars that are being offered. And if you're interested in becoming a professional, you can click the link and it takes you right to what's involved in the practitioner curriculum to become a certified practitioner in logosynthesis. So it can be very easy to learn how to use the sentences, and yet there's so much to the model um, to really grasp an appreciation for what's possible, and this practitioner curriculum is so valuable. So, in closing, I just wanted to highlight a quote, the Viktor Frankl quote, which I speak to in my book, Thriving in Our Times, From Reactions to Action Using Logosynthesis. And the Viktor Frankl quote talks about between the stimulus and response, there is a space, and in that space is our power to choose our response, right? And yet, what we often notice when we're under pressure, when we're dealing with all the demands of work and life, when we're in the middle of a meeting, when we're being asked to do yet another thing, there's often no choice. And what logosynthesis so beautifully shows is that these triggers, this energy, this frozen energy, these frozen perceptions or the mental imagery, closes off that space between the stimulus and the response, and we react. There is no choice. And using the logosynthesis basic procedure, you can eliminate the trigger. You can shift that frozen energy so it's in flow, and you can regain the choice, and you can once again act. So just consider, how do you respond? Thank you for joining me today, and check out the information. We'll share everything on the Logosynthesis International Association YouTube channel, and please reach out to me at any time. Take care.